Okay, so this is the Hot Sun Escort Slugger. This is the Tact or Tactical model. MSRP is $219. I bought it at Dunham Sports about a week ago. Got it at a $25 discount. It ran for $194. This video will be a guide on disassembly and possible modification that you can add to it. This shotgun is very cheap to modify. For $50, as you can see over here, you can go and buy plenty of modifications. I recommend definitely having a strap, as this comes with sling swivels already, or places for them rather. Mounting a flashlight on this top rail at the front of the handguard, as you will need this if you're using this for home defense or doing anything at night. This is purely optional, but the fact of the matter is that this has dovetail rail and there's hardly any sights you can put on them besides scopes or small sights. So this is a Gamma green dot. It might not be the most effective on this, but it'll give you a decent enough target acquisition. The bandolier as well. I have Remington Slugger rifled slugs as well as Estate 9-pellet buckshot. This ammo is very good, light recoil, and has a great pattern on it. Now, as a general buyer's guide, when you go and first purchase the shotgun out of the box, you may notice that you can only fit about 2 shells inside of the tube. And this is due to a little hidden secret here. There's a plug inside of here. This is a polymer plug. You want to hold on to this because there are certain seasons, maybe turkey season or whatever the laws are in your state, where it might dictate that you can only keep 2 shells in your tube, and you might legally be required to have this while hunting. But for home defense and general shooting purposes, I would say take it out and save it for a later time. So we have that. Now that we have removed our sling swivel, we can go ahead and press the release right here and pump it back. After you've done this, you can go ahead and loosen up the barrel. As you can see, it should come right out when it's pumped back and the swivel's out. You might have to give it a twist here and there, but there we go. Should come out. This is your barrel assembly. There's going to be heavy grime here in all of these ridges when it comes straight from the factory, as they do not clean them after the test fire. As you can see, there's a front black blade sight. My girlfriend actually modified this with white nail polish and some clear coat to make it easier to acquire your target. Definitely would recommend this as a modification, as at night the black blade sight might not be as good for target acquisition as well as a white one. So after that, you've disassembled your barrel. You can go ahead and pull the pump assembly out. Now, this isn't going to be a guide on how to get into the receiver, as there are 2 roll pins you must remove first, and this becomes a lot more complicated with the assembly. But doing this will allow you to clean the inner parts of your receiver in a rudimentary way. The main part that you should be concerned with as a brand new buyer is the actual bolt itself and the piece underneath. When I first got this, there isn't any right now, but there was yellow grime, paste, all sorts of crap under here. And it really made feeding in new shells a pain in the butt. So you want to go and clean, of course, your bolt. This ridge right here will collect grime. You need to clean that quite often. The bottom of this and where it's seated as well. Now when re-putting this on, attaching it, you need to have your fire pin pointed towards the end of the handguard. You don't want to have it back like this either. If you try to put that back in the receiver, it will not work and it'll sit in an incorrect way. You want to bring it to forward position, have this piece down, and have this lip hanging out. Next, you will go ahead and slide that in there. Now, you don't want it all the way back like this. If it is like that, go ahead, undo it, face it forward, and slowly slide that in there. You need a gap right here in order to get your barrel in. Now, if this is sitting up like this, then you have installed it incorrectly. Need to go ahead and remove it and redo it. It should look like this before you put your barrel in. Next, of course, get your barrel. Possibly put your thumb right there. Be careful to not pinch yourself. Done that a few times. It doesn't feel good since this is a heavy barrel. Next thing you know, after you slam that in, that's all good. Your last step here to keep the barrel fully in is to simply reattach your swivel. You can keep the plug for any hunting purposes if you're a hunter. If you're not, if you really don't have a use for it, go ahead and throw it out. It's just a polymer plug. But after this, of course, test rack it, maybe put a shell in there, make sure it extracts. Now the modifications here, a simple sling right here. This cost me about $20, and that was for the quick release swivels, which I have on this, which are very simple to go ahead and attach. You have that front one, then you have the top one. When you remove the plug, I will say that this swivel is very loose. It'll spin freely in there. So keep that in mind when you remove the plug. After that, simply put that in there. And you have your sling. Now this is fairly self-explanatory. This fits on a dovetail rail. You might see it at Walmart for around 15 bucks. All you have to do is put that on there and screw it in. I'm just going to do that a little bit, not suitable for shooting, but just as a general guide. Now, as you can see, have that. It's loose on there, but still. Next, you also have your flashlight, which is a little bit difficult on these front polymer rails up here. These are kind of stocky. You could honestly sand them down if you want, but after you attach this real well, it won't fall off. And you have a flashlight on your shotgun. There's also optional bandolier. Have some slugs as well. It'll run all of these as a fixed choke in the barrel. So you're not going to be able to add or remove chokes. But as far as I've seen, the fixed choke in this barrel hits very accurate. I would say that this is not just a home defense shotgun. You could definitely use this as an all-purpose. The 18-inch barrel with the fixed choke is not to be underestimated. This thing can hold a great grouping at 20 yards or more. Could definitely take a deer with this if you're experienced with your firearm. This costs $219 standard. The regular model costs $199, but if you're lucky like me, maybe go to Dunham's Sporting Goods or a similar store, you might be able to pick them up discounted like this one for $194, which is an excellent price point for this COVID pricing currently, because you want to buy an 870, a Mossberg, anything like that, it's going to be expensive. Now, there are a few grievances I have with this. One of them is the fact that it has dovetail rail on top. I'm planning on buying an adapter eventually to make this into Picatinny, because this does not accept any good, reliable shotgun sights up here. So you are probably not going to be using this unless you mount an adapter. Not many other grievances other than the barrel is very thin. It's a lightweight gun. It doesn't overheat too bad, but say you shot 30 rounds through this thing, it's going to be piping hot to the point where you cannot touch it without singeing your hand. So, definitely a downside. A slight downside, it's a perk to have it, but it's a downside, is having these little loops for the shotgun shells here. Now these, after putting them in a bit, it loosened up, but the back ones over here, when you first get it, you're going to have to force these in. Now you take a slug, for example, that crap barely goes in. It really just, it does not agree with it. So I would not recommend putting slugs in these little loops unless you go and sand these little ridges down. But other than that, it's a great shotgun. We've shot it many times. I would say if you're a shorter shooter, you probably do not want to buy this due to the length of pole. This stock is fixed, not adjustable, even though it kind of looks like it. I'm 5'8" personally, and it's about the perfect size for me. So if you're 5'8" and above, I definitely recommend this. But if you're a shooter, maybe 5'4" or shorter, this will be uncomfortable. And you might want to consider another option, such as a youth shotgun, for example. But with an 18-inch barrel, a weight of 6.5 pounds, a bit heavier than that if it's fully loaded, it's definitely an excellent gun. Remember your firearm safety tips, of course, but this is a definitely excellent buy. For $200, this is an excellent shotgun. It's not like the precursors such as the aim guard, where there was common failures with the handguard locking up. This is a workhorse of a shotgun, and it'll go boom every time you pull the trigger. Always make sure that after you've assembled it, that no silver is showing on the outside of the barrel here, because that could cause your barrel to get shot right out of the receiver, which is not good. Always make sure that your bolt is polished. Make sure your feeding ramp is well oiled, because this, coming from the factory, I could barely load a shell into the receiver. The feed ramp was just not agreeing, but after a bit of oil, a bit of cleaning, this thing works perfectly. So I definitely recommend this for the price point. It's an excellent shotgun, and I'd recommend anyone who's an entry-level shooter to go ahead and pick these up as their first 12 gauge, because the stock, the pistol grip, and the loads that I have are all recoil mitigating. I've shot 20 gauge, and we have a Mossberg 500 28-inch barrel, and it kicks more than this, and I'm shooting buckshot out of it. So I'm very impressed with this. Would definitely recommend, and let me know if this helped you with your disassembly, and if this is a good new shooter's buyer's guide for this specific model. Thank you.